Hey there, I wanted to do a video about flipping toys on eBay. This is a pretty popular way to make some money on as a side hustle. So I wanted to spend some considerable time going through this. I'm going to be using three big examples here. I'll be looking at Star Wars figures, Masters of the Universe figures, and then Transformers figures. Again, though, this could be anything where you're an expert in. So the idea here is pretty simple. I'm just going to log into eBay here. The theory here is pretty simple. You're going to buy a whole lot of toys, a big group of them, and then you're going to flip them by selling them individually on eBay. So I'm going to start off by typing in Star Wars action figures, and we'll see some results that come up. And I actually want to go to this lot. See where it says Star Wars action figures lot? I will go into that. And we're going to see the results that come back. We can see there's 13,062, and these are at least supposed to be group lots. So here we can see 1977 to 1983 action figure lot, $41, but it's an action. It's an auction in action, so it's not completed yet. If you want to see what's been sold, you just scroll down the left-hand side and you can see sold items. So I can say show only the sold items, and we can see what's been sold as far as lots. I can also change the filter here at the top from ended recently. I can actually go to highest price, and we can then see what is the largest Star Wars lot that was sold. Check out that, a $4,800 Canadian for 34 sealed carded figures from the 1980s. Here's another awesome lot. Look at this, 70s and 80s. I'm actually going to click on this one. So this one went for $3,500, 34 Canadian, or if you're a US person, it's American citizen, it's $2,700. And we can click on this picture. Oh my goodness, look at that. I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'm like drooling over this. Look at how mint these are. These are nice old figures. So all of this went for $3,500 Canadian. So what I would do in this case is I would look at this and I would go, is there anything here that is worth a lot of money? So maybe these individual figures are selling for $5 or $10 each, or maybe $20 or $30 each. A nice mint Millennium Falcon might go for a few $100s each, that sort of thing. So I'm doing this math in my mind, and I'll make a little spreadsheet and go, okay, I've got all these figures listed, and how much of this is the total if I were to sell them individually versus buying them in a lot. So it's like you're buying them wholesale and then you're selling them at retail, because you're not going to give much of a discount if somebody buys one action figure, right? Here's another one, 95 original Star Wars figures, including carrying cases, $3,200. Kind of makes me wish I had held on to my Star Wars figures from when I was a kid. So here's another one we can click on. So we can see here, there's some nice vintage figures here, plus a box of probably some lower end ones. And then we can see there's some cards, a couple carry cases. That went for about $3,200 plus shipping. Make sure to factor that in, and you'll probably pay some duty if you get it as well. So let's take a look at what's available as far as non-sold. So this is what I would do if I was going to buy a lot of figures. And what I mean by a lot is a collector's lot. So this is a great idea. This is one here. We've got vintage Star Wars original collector's lot, over 145 items, no repro, meaning no reproductions, $10,000, 184 watchers. A little word of advice, definitely shop around, because if every lot is going to be different, and if you have 184 watchers but nobody's bought it yet, it may be a sign that it's overpriced. So you got a lot of people watching because they themselves have lots and they're going, man, if this thing sells, I'm going to list all my stuff instantly. So just keep that in mind. Here's another one that's vintage Star Wars lot. Here's 83 figures and 71 card backs and more. Wow. So it's about less than half the price, and you get a little over half the figures. So I'm just, at first glance, I'm interested in this one for $4,300. And again, it's a buy it now. Now the shipping is absurd. It's $383 to get it to Canada from the United States. So I may, but again, it all depends on how big the lot is, right? We're looking here, we can see there's this Darth Vader carry case, lots of minty looking figures in there, lots of retro figures. So I would certainly, want to do some due diligence on this and take a look at what's involved and how much this is. And I would factor this all in. I would say, okay, it's going to be $4,300 plus this shipping. And then I would price them all out on a spreadsheet. And I would say, okay, there's, here he's saying there's 83 figures. Well, 83 figures, if you take $383 and add it to $4,300, let's say that's $5,000 for 83 figures. You're looking at about $75 a figure. I'm just going through in my head here. So I would just do some math. I would actually do a spreadsheet up and then go, okay, could I sell these for more than that each? So in other words, you're asking yourself, is this fully priced or is this a discount? You can do this with anything, by the way. You can do this with comic books. You can do this with action figures. I'll just type in I haven't even come up with this one yet, but you could do like Batman comic book Silver Age lot, for example. This is comic books. I know we're talking about toys, but here's just an example. We've got 85 total comics for $652. So I fancy myself a relatively decent comic book expert. So I can just click on this here really fast and I can see for $652, there's a bunch of different comic books. So I would actually list these out and I would go, okay, depending on the grade, and it's really tough to determine grade through eBay. So, you'd want to make sure you're buying from a reputable seller, but you'd be looking at these going, are there any higher end books that if I were to buy them, it would be worth this $652. Like for example, the one that's right on the top is pretty beat up and it's probably worth $1. So, probably not a great deal, but again, I'd have to go through all this and see what is all available. But I'm just letting you know, you could do this for comic books. You could do this for action figures. The next one I'd like to do is I'm going to type in Masters of the Universe lot. And it'll come up with action figures. I want to do that. I don't want to do the comic books. So I'm going to click on Masters of the Universe lot, and I can see here there's a bunch of new stuff. This is unsold. Here's a great one. Huge lot vintage 1980s Masters of the Universe figures, vehicles, accessories, $1,918. So I would go through this and I would make sure that everything I'm seeing is actually worth something. So again, you need to be an expert in your field. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, there's not a lot of accessories. There's some. I don't see any high-end Skeletors or He-Mans in there. There's a couple action figures that are worth something. There's a Faker in there, for example. But I'm not seeing a ton, right? So there's like variants to action figures. Like Modulok, that's the red guy there. There's a Terror Claws Skeletor, which is that one there. There's a couple first waves like Merman and Man-at-Arms, that sort of thing. So I'd be going through this and I would say, okay, how many of these are complete? A vintage like that Terror Claws Skeletor right there, if he's mint and if he has all the accessories, he goes for upwards of $200. So if that was true, if there was a Scare Glow in there, for example, who's worth a ton of money, then I would look at this and go, man, okay, maybe it's worth it. So anyway, it's just an idea. You want to go through these different lots and figure out what's available. The last one I want to take a look at would be Transformers G1. So Transformers G1, and G1 stands for the first generation, and then lot. I'm not a big fan of selling things that are not vintage. New stuff, there's always new stuff coming out. And so vintage, there's only one vintage. There's only one G1. So here's a great example. Lot of 16 Transformers G1 and G2, 1984. So I'm going to click on that just as an example. This is $175. And we can see there's some vintagey stuff there. So again, I would go through this and I would add them up and I would say, okay, how many robots are there? There's a front row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Middle row, there's another 6. The back, there's 4. So that's, about 18. It says here a lot of 16. There's a couple extra pieces. So you're looking at about 16. I would then do the math on it and go, okay, 175, 16. Here's another thing you can do. This is kind of a neat little strategy. You could buy this lot even though it's not complete. So maybe all of the different decals and the different stickers and the different accessories are not there. Then you scroll through and you look for other accessories. So here's one, vintage figures and parts lot. So sometimes you want to buy a lot of parts and you can kind of pastiche together a working group of action figures. I did this with the Masters of the Universe stuff. Last year, I bought 3 different lots of action figures, and then between the 3 lots, I was able to make about 150 sales where they were complete figures. So I basically did the work, put all the figures together with their outfits and with the accessories, and I was able to sell them as complete. So again, you're providing value here by doing that. So you've got a couple different options. I would recommend, big tips here is, I would recommend looking for something that you are an expert in. Okay, so Care Bears lot. Let's say you're, into the Care Bears, for example, and you could say, vintage. And we can see what comes back, right? 1,000 results come back. Here's an example. Pre-owned, 1984, posable. There's $233 so far, right? There's 37 minutes left. So if that was something that you were really interested in, I would take a look at this lot and I would say, okay, there's 5, 10, there's 15, there's 19 different bears. And I would look at them and say, what's the condition of them? How much do these individually sell for? So I would go through the description and I would say, includes 19 figures, include 2 cloud chairs, everything is pre-owned. If I knew Care Bears, which I admit I don't, but if I knew Care Bears, I would go through and I would look up these individually, and then I would do the calculation. Could I sell these individually and make more money? You're basically buying a lot at wholesale, and then you're selling them individually at retail. So I hope that helps, guys. A little bit of a side hustle here that you can use to try to make some money on the side. You can use this for action figures, comics, boys' toys, girls' toys, basically a lot of something, and then you can sell it individually at at full retail. Hope you enjoyed that. If you like what you saw today, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I welcome questions, comments, and all sorts of good interaction with you guys down in the comment section. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.